We are now live with the Erasmus podcast. And after the training course in Lecce, Italy, I must ask a question to all of you. How do you feel that this training course about human rights has impacted you? It could have impacted you in many different levels, like professionally, personally, or emotionally, or a mix of all of them, or even in more ways. So perhaps you'd like to give input.
I think all of that. Yeah.
All of that, but
Yeah.
what? Well, give us some details.
So maybe emotionally, communicating with all these people like for 10 days, we just don't have like much breaks. So it's for me, it's a bit intense, conflicts, arguments, different ideas, trying to like communicate and also make your point, but in a without making a, like conflict in like big conflicts. So it's emotionally, this is the part of emotionally, like I feel it was like intense, but also in a good way.
So you're saying you felt that you were like tippy-toeing between like a fine line of being like politically correct, so to say, where like anything you said could be used against you if it was out of line.
Yeah, and also the sessions or the workshops we done, like you're dealing with really different cultures and different people, different opinions. So it's it's good, but it's intense also at the same time. So I felt like I need maybe 5 days break, like by myself. I need some time to figure out all this. So this is like the emotion part.
Would you guys agree with that? That it was like intense and you had to like be online and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I'd say partially.
Really?
You can go ahead.
No, you can start. It's okay.
No, I just wanted to say that, I mean, it's true for some people, especially if you're not used to, like we were hanging out with strangers for 10 days straight, and it was like almost 24/7 face to face. So there was a lot to take in to get to know these people and to discuss very important topics at the same time. Like there were a lot of touchy topics at times, and you just have to know how to navigate them and to communicate with people without offending anybody, at the same time getting your ideas in the best possible form to the other party. So but I'd say overall it was a great opportunity just to have this kind of experience that, especially not a lot of people get to experience this, to have this kind of community and to talk about something important and try to exchange knowledge, especially a lot of people coming from different backgrounds and different point of views and expertise. So
Yeah, for sure. Especially near the end, the topics got even harder to navigate, I would say, during that time, especially with a few sudden things that happened. But besides that, how did it affect you guys personally, like on a more like personal level, rather than just like you feeling it was intense and all, like how to navigate the topics? Like, do you believe you've grown as a person being here?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I think we have all grown as persons because we have learned very much about human rights and the importance of human rights. And I think even the more important thing is that we learned how to educate others in our community about human rights and share the positive message and the value of human rights in our own community, and so to have impact on our community and make a better world for all people,
Yeah, being able to impact your community is definitely the goal of this project, especially with the dissemination being the way it is. But when you put it like that, how exactly do you believe you've learned on how to give out the information and educate others on human rights? Like, what do you believe is the best course of action for that specifically, to educate others?
I think we've learned like many methodologies and ways to educate others, like the different practical lessons we had, and in which ways we can share the values of human rights with other people, and show them the importance of human rights. And yes, I think it impacted me also personally on a very, very intimate way. Like, it changed a little bit my whole life, and the meaning of human rights in my own values, you know. I don't know what you think about it.
Honestly, sorry to interrupt. For me, it was really like an important topic for me to discuss with like as you said, guys, like a lot of people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences, and it was really like eye-opening for me as well to hear all about like other people, you know, experience. Also, when we saw the documentary and all of that,
Oh my
there are a
God.
lot of stuff that I didn't even know about that's happening in our world that I seriously didn't know anything about. And for me, it was like really like as I said, like eye-opening, like to raise awareness about that there's some countries or some people that really human rights. It's totally like I would say totally oppressed. The people are totally oppressed, but nobody discussed it about, you know, and they choose only to discuss in some cases. So I came back as well, like talking to my friends, to my family as well, about my experience, about how this changed, like the way I think, how I'm more like now accepting also others' views, even if I don't agree with them, I accept, you know, their view, I respect their views.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to add to that the course made really, really hard topics easier to understand. It made them clear because we all try to understand the topics on different kind of levels. So it was always that the course started with, okay, how is your own experience? How do you see it in the world? How do you see it in other different people's, their lives from different countries? And that made a really big perspective on my own life and on how the human rights are in the world. I think I learned most of that, I think. Just the stories from other people. Yeah.
I do certainly think that it made the issue more plausible, especially with the video we saw about the Chagos people. It really goes to show that there are places and people and situations that simply just get either ignored or trampled just because of the situation they're in. They simply just cannot fight back because they have no resources, no lawyers, no money, no anything, and they're fighting against the British government. And that's not even the worst situation out there. We have North Korea, which we didn't even talk about, but if we were to discuss it in the project, like it would have been even worse. But certainly those issues are hard to tackle. And another question that brings up is, do you guys feel like we have like perhaps developed or like learned some sort of method to more easily approach those issues and to fight against them in a certain way?
I think we learned a lot of methods.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like,
For
personally,
example,
like,
I think communication is very important, and yes, communication, like that people have to speak up and speak about problems which are from the media ignored and share them. For example, like in formats like this, I think this is also a great opportunity, this podcast, that we can also repeat another time and speak about another different special topic about human rights, to inform the people about problems like this. And yes, I think it would be great if we can go on with this format and do it another time to inform the people about problems like this.
yeah, that is another
What
one
do
of
you
the
think
reasons
about
why I chose this as a dissemination activity, because it also like publishing this will obviously inform more people about the issues that we came to see ourselves, and also we'll be able to give our own input to them, and they'll be able to make their own decisions and critical thinking and all that, so that they learn more about this topic and also how to deal with it,
Yeah,
how to
and I want
contribute and all
to.
that.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Yes.
you're right.
Well, for me, it was really nice during the whole training course that it was called a non-formal education. So I really was afraid that I had to sit there and listen to someone who's giving me a whole monologue about some topics and stuff. But it was really a way of learning things while practicing. Is that how I say it correctly? So we got a lot of methods that really made big problems that are really like huge abstract issues. They made them really clear by methods that made things like imaginable.
Yeah, they
Like,
presented them in a way that made the issues seem more easy to tackle, like more understandable for us. Speaking of that, though,
Exactly. Yeah.
do you guys believe that everything was presented in a perfect way, though? Because if not, then what would you change about the course if you had like a say in it?
Sorry, before
I think Sandra did a great job. Like she has done it really good, and she has also very big competence in this topic, which I think everybody saw, and she also let everybody speak and a free discussion, and I think it was a great course, and the team did it very well. What do you think about this?
Like talking back about the method, actually one of the good methods that now I just remembered, when we did this activity with the iceberg thing, that you have like a big problem and then you kind of separate them into different levels. That was actually really good, because the problem is when the iceberg, you see what's on the outside, which everybody sees, but you don't see what's actually like the cause behind it, and then you kind of lower them to different levels. I found this method was really it's really like cool, and now I can use it in a lot of stuff. Like the main problem, what everybody see, for example, talk about environmental pollution or something, but then talk about the back problem, like the meaning of it, with what caused it and stuff. This was one of the cool methods that I actually learned.
It's a way of thinking also. It's more the way of thinking, like if you have some issue of like human rights violation in somewhere and you have to think about it, so you go deeply to know the reason, and it's I love this.
Yes.
Exactly. You also ask a question like what kind of value we took away from the course, and that's very important to realize. Like the core issue with human rights is most of the time it's either there's no awareness whatsoever about the issue, which we've gotten to learn through the course about different things that we haven't even heard about them in our regular life, through the documentary and through other stuff. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that sometimes there is the issue there, and like a lot of people are aware of it, but they just ignore it, and it's in the background, and just like we don't know how to solve it. So that's these two things that I think were the kind of like way of thinking now, is that like our job now is to actually raise awareness about human rights and it's being violated. Plus the tools that we learned in the course. Exactly. So we learned also these tools that you guys talking about, the iceberg method and many different methods, and there were games with like Web of Life and other stuff that actually they break it down to like a fun level where you can actually take it to either schools or like local communities where you can raise these awareness to young people who are going to make the future generations and make it an actual difference. So I think that's how we should approach it, is to actually raise the awareness with these tools to actually make an impact, because otherwise it will always stay like that and it will always be ignored. So
Yeah.
You are bringing up a really good point with the fact that we experienced the methods themselves also teaches us the methods. So knowing how to present the problem, for example, from the iceberg method, which showcases the root cause of the problem, essentially, definitely helps in making it more feasible to let everyone experience it. Because if you try to just showcase like a sort of essay to a class about an issue, it would be a lot harder to digest than just presenting them with this like iceberg whole dynamic on a paper that just says this, and that, and like really dumps it down, but also makes it more fun and entertaining to just experience. In that regard as well, I believe that the workshop method is one of the best ones that we learned and also experienced. As in, we all got the chance to more or less create our own workshop on one of the issues that were presented. For example, the one that I was a part of, and I think Stephanie was there as well, was that we were doing the choose 3 things to bring with you to travel somewhere. And then we slowly took them away from you and made you like realize that this is how immigrants sometimes feel. And sometimes that you immigrate for different reasons. So, for example, one group was privileged and was going to a place that's like there, and they're going to study, they're going to improve their life quality and just progress. Whereas the other group were just running away from a war because they just are really just trying to survive more than anything. So you really saw the contrast in what they brought with them and how they approached the situation.
Yeah. But he still brought his cat always, either with the war or
I mean, my cat is not here, so I can't exactly show you, but I mean, if you saw my cat, I'm sure you'd understand because, you know, I would do the same.
Yes, and maybe if I can contribute, another thing is that we could the next time, maybe next week, can do another podcast where we can deeper analyze the issues and show the people like problems and of human rights and how to solve them in practical ways, like we learned it in the training course, you know. And maybe we get really famous and help to make the world a better place, you know.
we can open a YouTube,
Yes,
a YouTube
because
channel.
unfortunately I also now have to leave, so maybe we can go the next time deeper in the problem and yes, and analyze it a little bit better. But I was really glad to be a part of this podcast today, and I'm sure you will do a great job also without me. Yes,
Of course,
thank
Max.
you. Thank
In
you
fact,
all.
Finn is
I-
actually planning to do a review of the podcast. Perhaps you can join him in that. And if anyone else wants to, why not as well? Just essentially make a second podcast. Why not?
Yes, that would be a great idea, I think.
Indeed.
Uh,
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, because today
Max.
we speak more about like the general things about human rights, and maybe the next time we can analyze it a little bit deeper and show the people like how to solve the problems and issues in a practical way, as we learned it in the training course with like exact methods and things like this, you know.
Yeah.
So thank you that I could be a part this evening of this podcast, and I hope to see you again maybe next week.
Of course, Max.
Thank you,
Been
Max.
nice. It's been great to have you.
Thank you for
Bye, Max.
joining.
Really nice here.
Farewell. Farewell, Max.
Bye.
So we replaced Max with Hida, more or less.
Yeah.
So
Later.
whether that's
Good
an
evening.
upgrade or a downgrade is up to you guys to decide. I'm taking no part in this. But for the next question I had ready was, would you recommend this experience to someone else?
Of course, yes.
Definitely.
Totally, yeah, of course.
Immediately.
Honestly, I would change some things, like,
What
but
would you change in that case?
to be
I know what
honest,
he's gonna say.
be honest,
We all know.
like I would change the food. To be honest,
You
like
know, if it makes you
that's so
feel
funny.
if it makes you feel any better, in the project I just finished, I came back today. We had a similar thing where they gave us an idea to just go and record everyone's reactions to something. And I went and was like, what was the biggest challenge in Tale of Nature, which is the project? And everyone said the food. So I had a compilation of everyone just saying, oh, the biggest challenge was just the food.
Yeah,
And here we are, fucking flashbacks.
of course.
Maybe you can compile it at the end of the video. Just put them all together without.
Yeah, no, I already did that, actually. I can show you the but actually, now that we mention it, maybe this is a great call out to like make Papa Europe be like, well, let's improve the food quality in Erasmus.
Okay, but can I add something about the food? Because okay, the food was vegetarian. It was really like sometimes it was a little bit boring, but I have to admit that for me, I was thinking about it last week. It was an amazing experience that he gave us food from different countries, from different places of the world that I would never have eaten if he didn't give it to me. And I think I learned a lot from it, and also maybe it was a little bit weird, but also really interesting to experience the meditative eating of the meditation dinner. And I think I still think about that when I'm eating something, I'm like, oh, where's this coming from? Is this falling from the tree? And I'm like, shit, he's in my head. He actually did something really good.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sadly, we lost Max, so we don't have his input on this. but yeah.
I just want to say something actually, like the meeting shows that there is remaining time 8 minutes.
Yeah, we actually don't have
because
that much
it's not
time because
premium.
I don't have
Oh.
premium.
That's why I said like we should do it on Teams, because on Teams I think we could.
Well, I
Yeah,
did.
it's
I
fine.
did suggest
Ali,
Discord.
you wanted to add something? Because I want to say something after you say.
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
You, Ali. Ali.
no.
You're gonna say, okay. No, I just wanted to add something about the food. Actually, thing is, all jokes aside, right? It was really actually a really interesting experience, and I don't regret it at all because, as you said, we actually experienced a lot of variety of food, and that also comes to the theme of the whole project. It's about human rights, and an essential part of it is food, and a lot of communities doesn't even have enough food to survive or
That's
like
true.
clean water. So that was actually a good addition to the, regardless if it was intentional or not.
Yeah.
But and it's not about just being vegetarian. No, I find it also great that I was vegetarian, but it be like having really good food and having vegetarian food, they don't actually, it's not a problem if it's vegetarian, but there's sometimes the food was actually amazing, and other times it was just not good at all. So
I agree also for the food thing. Yeah, I agree also for all this. Yeah, food wasn't that.
yeah,
I'm honestly just gonna take the politically correct approach and just say that the food was unusual and say no comment.
Okay, but it is nice to experience it.
Janis, you know how to use your words.
Indeed.
Yeah, you
I
really know how to
truly
use
do.
your words.
Articulation, my friend. It is a skill.
Okay. Janis, you
Yes,
should
but-
become a podcaster.
Yes, I must say you look actually really nice today. You shaved, you have like a new haircut.
That was yesterday. Actually, that was 2 days ago. So, you know, a little later. Not that fresh, but still fresh. Not stale. And
Yes.
that matters.
fresh. of course.
Actually, speaking of the haircut, there's an interesting story behind it. So, in Hungary, I kind of made it my mission to have bubble tea in every country, as some of you may
I
know
just
already.
had a bubble tea today, actually. Sorry to interrupt you. It was so good.
Yeah,
Continue.
and essentially, I just befriended the cashiers of the boba shop, and at the last day, more or less, they offered me an extra free bubble tea if I should got a haircut. So they were like, just go to the hair salon over there, which is like literally next block. So
wow,
that's why I got a haircut.
it was
see,
that bad.
you
I know,
heard,
right?
you heard me, Janis. I told you a haircut would change your life. You see?
I
You
mean,
did it.
free boba, right? You can't argue with that. That is life changing.
That's true.
I will say though, it's a little short, but you know, it is
But
what
it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. But we should definitely do another podcast or
Yeah.
open a YouTube channel and just talk about random life things. Like how to
Man,
solve
honestly,
human rights.
if Max joins in the YouTube channel, I know we're gonna go viral in like
Yeah.
1 month. 100%. I'm sure of
how
that.
how to solve human rights issues in 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Honestly, my suggestion is to just continue the food discussion when Max is back for next episode.
Yes.
I think he had the wildest experience out of all of us in the
Yeah.
meditation eating or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but
aside from
honestly,
that,
like you said, jokes aside, really, there were some dishes that really were good, and I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
problem with me, but personally, because like a lot of beans and peas, like kind of I have like a stomach problem. That's why for me personally. But honestly, there were a lot of dishes that were really good, and I was like, damn, that's good.
so now I have a different question, more on the closing side. So, what are the most important things you've taken away from this course? Like, what do you believe to be the most important, most valuable thing you've learned or just experienced, learned, etc., while being in Lecce?
Well, I think for me, definitely the realization that everybody is a human being. Like, it doesn't matter if you're from Bolivia or Venezuela or Spain or Germany or Syria or Egypt, everyone is a human being. And that was crazy to experience. That we all have the same ways, same rhythms, same
Yeah.
feelings, same emotions. It's so
Exactly.
cool.
It was so cool that we're all from different cultures, different backgrounds, but kind of we all bonded together. We all like really understood each other. That was for me like really cool. Like this open-minded to get to know the other person. Like you know, it doesn't matter where is he from, how does he look, how does he look, or so. You know, it was really cool that you open up for the day just to live with people. Like as I said, strangers for like almost 10 days. And then at the end, you just like make super connections with the people, you know, and even with the facilitators, with the organizers, you know.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think
And
that the
it was
connections are some of the most valuable things that you get out of the projects in general. 'Cause
100%.
and
It's,
you can see that actually. You can see that when we said goodbye at the end and how hard it was.
Yeah.
yeah.
10
You can
days,
even say it right
complete
now.
strangers, and it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can even say it right now.
yeah.
Look at us now. We're just
Yeah.
holding a podcast because, you know, we all thought
Yeah.
it would be
Yeah.
cool to just
Also,
talk
like
again.
the interesting thing about the course is like the it was like a chance for people like from Europe and some immigrants to have this communication and you know to understand the point of view from different you know sides. So it was also a really good opportunity for everyone to understand you know different perspective and for me I was like um, thinking that people here in the EU they sometimes taking some rights for granted. Uh, but in this course, I think many people that realize that no, human rights it really matters, and you know, we shouldn't take it for like granted. It's exist. No, you should work on it because yeah. So it was also one interesting thing about the course there. I like yeah.
So, one thing to point out now is that we can always just finish this call here and start a new one because we're down to less than 1 minute because I don't have Zoom Pro. So
Yeah.
we can literally just continue the podcast by just starting another call. But I do have more questions if you guys want to like keep continuing, or if you're good to just end here. You feel like you've said your piece and all that.
I would say we can do like another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do another
Yeah, we
episode
could.
for sure. I
Yeah,
think.
Nice
yeah.
guitar, by the way.
Like
It's
part
not as
two.
cool as mine, but you know.
Yeah, I want to say goodbye already because otherwise it's going to
Yes.
fall. I hate
Yeah,
that.
it is.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
it was really nice seeing you all.
Alright.
And hearing
Cheers,
you.
It was
fam.
I think
amazing.
I missed you
Bye.
guys.
I'll see you in the next.
Of
Okay.
course.
Take care.
Yeah.
See you hopefully next week or
Ciao.
All right.
Yeah.
Cheers, fam.
Yeah.